you look at the overall like Punjabi music scene, for example, it's the same storyline again and again. It's like a man, a girl, and them exchanging glances at each other from like 200 feet away. I'm really adamant about my vision being executed the way I want. Mentally, I was like, next year, stadiums. Next year, collab with Beyonce. After that, Grammy. I hate this culture of churn shit out. I haven't made any money from music, even to this day. It doesn't help that both of my parents are medical professionals, so no pressure or anything. Every single person in this space has tried to sell me a dream, has tried to sell me on this idea and capitalize on this like hunger that artists have, this hunger to like be seen. In my music video, I can make you a pig and then I can kill you at the end.
Welcome back to the SCATTERBRAIN podcast. Today, my guest is Shreea Kaul, an independent singer-songwriter from Houston, Texas, who over the years has carved out a niche for herself through her unique lyrics, music production, and visuals. She's one of those artists who just doesn't quit. Every challenge she runs into somehow makes her come back sharper and more focused. She's still fully independent, still working a corporate job to fund her music, and still betting on herself. Her life and her music are completely intertwined, so in this episode, we spend a lot of time unpacking her latest album, Cruel Intentions, the stories behind it, the struggles, and what it's really like to build something on your own in the music industry. Hope you enjoy the episode, and if you want more conversations like this, make sure to subscribe.
So we can start when I was a little youngin. I was born in Bhopal. It's in Madhya Pradesh, India. And I came to the States when I was quite young. I was like 7, 8 years old. I didn't speak English when I came to the States, but I learned it quite quickly. And then once I learned English, I got into like American music. So Avril Lavigne, I started listening to Etta James really young. So soul influences, Amy Winehouse. And slowly, as I was assimilating into the culture, I started to forget my native tongue, Hindi, and Kashmiri as well. And my mom was like, fuck no, that's not happening. So she would take me to the Indian movie theater. So we'd watch old Bollywood films. She would rent Bollywood films that were coming out. We would watch Star Plus, ZTV. And I relearned how to speak the language because my mom was so adamant about it. Mm-hmm. And then after getting re-immersed in the culture when I was young, I started becoming so obsessed with like films, with poetry, shairi. And when I got into high school and I was like, actually, I hate being brown. You know, we all go through that phase. So I got kind of back into like pop. And I started like really writing music, singing, got into choir. After I graduated from high school, I was like, I really want to be an artist, but I don't think I'm going to be adopted in this country, just doing what I want to do, because that wasn't the space 10 years ago. I was like, what's going to make me stand out? And I was like, I think I need to put my culture into my music because that no one else is really doing that. And no one was 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I started making music that was encompassing so many different elements and like essentially global music, right? And then I went through all the lore of like crazy crashing out era, and I guess like I'm here now, and I feel like this part of my life has so little to do with music. Now I'm really like focused on hosting friends. I love hosting. I love having like little potlucks at my house. I love going to support my friends, going to their shows, going to their events. I like to hang out with my cat, and I like to interior design. So yeah, that's my life now.
Clearly can see from the space that I feel like it has your touch on it. So, and you said you're Kashmiri.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Have you ever been to Kashmir? Like,
no, honestly, being Kashmiri is such a loaded identity, being Hindu Kashmiri in particular, because there's just so much that's happened to my family, and there's just so much that's happening in the region that just breaks my heart to see. So that part of my identity, I feel like I don't open up about a lot. And it's also confusing because there's so many different sides to the story of Kashmir and Kashmiri people, Kashmiri Hindus, Kashmiri Muslims, Kashmiri Sikhs, that just goes so ignored. So to speak about that identity, I want to pay respect to like all aspects of Kashmiri identity, and I only, you know, align with like that 1/3 of it. So I feel so confused as to how to speak on that part of my identity publicly. But yeah, I am Kashmiri.
No, that makes sense. It's like, it's also so politically charged, I feel like.
Very much so. Yeah, it's very politically charged. And I have a hard time like reconciling with so many parts of Kashmir's history, whether that be my own history with Kashmir and my family's history, or the current history that's happening in Kashmir and the people who are currently living in Kashmir and what they're going through. It's like it's so complicated and so nuanced and just so deep
Yeah.
that I don't even know my own thoughts around it sometimes.
Were your parents born there?
Yes.
Okay, and
My
then
entire like lineage is from there.
and they had to move and they settled in Madhya Pradesh basically
Yeah,
after.
they did.
Gotcha. The title of the album, Cruel Intentions.
Yeah.
Why Cruel Intentions?
I wanted to title it Cruel Intentions because I wanted to foreshadow that it is going to be like a darker concept album. And it's about how my once like pure intentions and pure view of the world became tainted over time.
One interesting thing that I noticed about the album is like the way you ordered the songs on the album.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about like what's happening at the beginning and then like kind of how it transitions to the rest of the album?
The album is about time, and the cover art is basically me trapped in an hourglass. So I wanted the album chronology to be true to form to an hourglass. So the first song is called We Have Time, and then the last words of the album are We Out of Time? So as you chronologically go down the album, the songs first start off really lighthearted and like inviting and warm and playful, but then as you go down the album, they consecutively become darker and grittier and more chaotic as the protagonist of the album starts to run out of time. So it was a very intentionally ordered process for curating the album.
Born to Die specifically. That song, I think it starts,
What's a sin to a sinner, coke to an addict, a diamond to a thief, and a carrot to a rabbit, a gun to a killer, man down, damn it. What is a man without his bad habits? Born to Die, I wrote kind of in the height of the crash and burn of my life. Everything seemed to be falling apart, and I don't think I had any idea of how to handle it. So I dabbled in things that I shouldn't have. And I developed a few bad habits, as one does in the music industry. So what is a man without his bad habits? It's like, I've developed all these bad habits and I want to bring you down with me. So why don't you partake? I think I was talking about my self-sabotaging tendencies and then also like calling on others to like, because baby, we were born to die. So come join me. It's fun over here. At least we're having fun. Yeah, we're fucked up, but we're getting lit on a Tuesday.
Got you. When you say everything was falling apart in your life at that time, were there specific things like music related stuff? Was it a relationship? Was it parents at home? Like what?
I think it was everything all at once. I think this was during a time when my parents and I were like having a bit more of a tumultuous relationship, and I was kicked out of the home. So I was kind of on my own for a little bit. And I had ended a relationship that was like 4 or 5 years long. And then at the same time, I had another cat. Her name was Kaju. Kaju got really sick. So I had to give her to a family that could afford to take care of her. And I got laid off my job. And somebody stole a couple grand from me from my like music ventures. Like I had a song that had grossed like a couple grand and no one ever paid me. So I was just like in this pit of like, oh, I have nothing and no one.
What was that like, I guess, in your teenage years? Or like, when did you realize like music was like your thing and then introduced it to them and that whole conversation?
I think it was like early college. I introduced them to the idea of me wanting to be an artist. And at first they were really supportive. They even supported me when I wanted to take a gap year. So after my gap year, things just didn't work out musically, but I still wanted to pursue it. But my parents were like, dude, we gave you a year and it didn't work out. And look, all the shit you ran into, like just focus on, you know, what you need to focus on and kind of like take this out of your mind. But I was pretty adamant that I wanted to do it. And I think over time, my parents just grew more and more resentful of the fact that my focus was on things that they didn't approve of. And I understand where they're coming from, right? They wanted me to build a future for myself, and they were worried that I was investing in the wrong areas. So over time, that tension just built to a point where neither of us could like stand each other for a bit. Yeah, when I ended up leaving home, I had to kind of figure things out for myself. But in that process, music started doing really well. My parents and I reconnected, and we're actually really, really close now. We just had that one little moment, which actually ended up getting us closer together. And now my mom is a co-writer on some of my biggest songs, like Teribina and Khali Wali Bigi. So it all ended up working out in the end.
Coming out of your teenage years, I feel like everyone has that conflict with their parents to some level.
Yep.
Some misunderstanding, or like because they've lived so much life and like they've experienced it all. So when it comes to like their kid, like they're like guardrails, like
Yep.
protect the you know, like the shit out of my kid, so
Yep.
they don't go through the same thing. But reality is that like you probably learned so much going through some of these things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't help that both of my parents are medical professionals, so no pressure or anything. But I'm honestly glad I chose the path I chose, because if I had chosen the one that they wanted for me, I feel like I'd be so miserable, like 10 times more miserable than I was during my crash out era. So
Yeah.
it all worked out.
Yeah. Going to another song, Crooked Salesman. I think first I wanted to touch on like this Hindu prayer that's in the song, and it transitions into this like crazy beat. What made you want to insert that? What is that, I guess, prayer?
Yeah,
Or
that's the Maya Mrityunjaya mantra. And it's one that, like, if you grew up in a Hindu home, you've just grown up hearing it all your life. And quite frankly, I'm not like too well versed in Sanskrit and like the real deep meaning of it, but I always interpret it as like a mantra for protection. And during that era of Crooked Salesman, where I was like getting fucked over, getting terrible deals left and right, I so badly just wished there was someone in my life, like a manager, a lawyer, anybody, some type of support that could guide me in the right direction and protect me from all the shit that was happening. But I had no one. I would say like the Maya Mrityunjaya mantra to myself like every night during that time. And it just felt fitting to put it in the song because it was such a pivotal part of that era for me.
yeah, the beat that you had right after, again, seems like a chant of some sort where like you're releasing all this like
Yeah.
tension.
So that little chant in the hook, it's actually gibberish. There's no words, no language. And I wanted to do it because I want to really promote a global sound. I don't want to pigeonhole myself into like one corner of the music space. And sometimes when people find me, they find me because of my English music, and it's like an English audience. And then sometimes people find me because of my Desi music, and that's like a Desi audience. And then there's like this small group which I'm trying to grow, which is just like people who love culture and they're open to hearing anything that sounds good. So I wanted to create a hook that was universal, that no one could attach language to, because as soon as people attach language to something, they kind of put it in one bucket or another, or like she's a Desi artist, or she's like a baile funk artist, and I didn't want that. Like I wanted this moment to just be a feeling, and I wanted it to feel universal. That's why I didn't say anything.
Going back to the story of the Crooked Salesman, like you're talking about the music industry and like you know, a couple bad apples in it that might have
Yeah.
like fed you the wrong information.
Yeah.
Can you describe like what the scenario was and like how you found yourself out of it?
Yeah, I feel like to fully understand the scenario, I just kind of have to give you the lore year by year.
Yeah.
So my first year in music, I was 18. I wanted to start creating and making music. So I found a producer. I saved up a couple grand working summer jobs so that I could pay the producer. So I find a producer, we make music, I pay him. And then I was like, let me sleep on these songs for a week or two. And if I feel confident about them, let's release them. So a week or two passed by and I'm so confident in this music. So I call the producer, I'm ready to release this. So when I dial him, I hear this number is no longer in service. And I was like, what the hell? So I text him and the texts go from blue to green. And I was like, what is going on? I go to his Facebook, it's deactivated. I took my laptop, my hard drive, I drive to his house, and in the front yard, I see Keller Williams Realty for sale. And then on top of that, I see a stamp that says sold. I'm like, you sold your house, you dropped off the face of the earth, you left town with my music and my money, and I'm never gonna see you again. So I was like, you know what, fuck it. So we go on to the next year of making music. Long story short, a manager like finessed me out of a couple grand. My third year in music, I come to LA. I'm like, I'm just gonna work with producers here. I find a producer, we make a really dope song together, and I wanna release it. And he texts me that, hey, I gave this song away to someone at Atlantic Records, and you're not gonna see it unless the artist release it, because Atlantic Records is not gonna put a song off of their shelf. And I was like, the song I co-produced and I wrote, you're just gonna like give away. And I didn't have lawyers at the time, so I just had to let it go. And my fourth year in music, got kicked out. My fifth year in music, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna work with people I trust. So I find friends in the industry, and I work with someone that is relatively trustworthy, and we release a song that goes semi-viral. Turns out she doesn't end up paying me a cent of that money. And I didn't have lawyers still, I couldn't afford them. So I was like, you know what? We continue moving on. And then Tere Bina happened, and it was like my most viral song. And we had literally any label that you can think of in my inbox. And so I was like, you know what? I finally need lawyers. I'm going to get lawyers. I got lawyers. We started having conversations. Turns out the lawyers ghosted every single label that reached out. And what was once like 10 to 15 deals that could have been negotiated ended up being pretty much nothing. So I was like, so we're kind of back at square one now. I found myself in this place of like just exhaustion. Every single person in this space has tried to sell me a dream, has tried to sell me on this idea and capitalize on this like hunger that artists have, this hunger to like be seen and make it, I guess. And I was like, you're all just politicians. You're all trying to capitalize on what I have to offer this industry, and you're not, obviously not going to give any of that back to me. So you're a crooked salesman.
In your discography, like I guess as you walked me through the different years, were there moments where you felt like, oh, like this is really interesting, like I'm able to get an audience, people are listening to my stuff, like people are messaging me, letting me know how they feel?
Yeah.
Like what were some of those moments like?
In like 2019, I released a song called Gluttony. And the following year, I released my first EP, Seven Deadly Sins. In that era was when I found my first hints of traction. It wasn't anything major, just people resonating with the work. And it was actually not the Desi community that found me first. It was just random listeners from anywhere and everywhere. And I was really surprised that I was attracting that type of audience, having like such a Desi sound. And then I released Ladke, and I think that's where my people found me. And that's when I started seeing people discovering me, discovering Rahma, discovering my music, my discography. From there, the next moment was a song called Old Dude. And after that, Burn It to the Ground. Burn It to the Ground was when I felt like I've made a stamp in this space. Like I have a little corner of this niche that belongs to me.
Yeah.
So I think that was where I finally like realized this vision I've been having of sharing Desi sound and sharing Desi culture with not only a Desi audience, but an audience outside of that who can appreciate it. I think Burn It to the Ground found its way through so many different scenes. Like it had a moment in the European like dance scene. It had a moment with the Bharatnatyam community. It had a moment with all the baddies kind of lip syncing videos. And that's kind of where I found an audience that I felt like this is where I want to go. And after Burn It to the Ground, the next moment was Tere Bina. And that felt like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Finally, I'm here. Yeah.
And was it Tere Bina where like you got like a lot more interest from labels, or did you always have that interest, but then Tere Bina just kind of like blew it out of proportion a little bit?
I don't think I'd ever had label interest before then. I think Tere Bina was the moment where it all started to trickle in.
How did you have the money to invest back into the music? Because the music videos that you're making,
Yeah.
they don't look like simple
Yeah.
music videos to make.
I think prior to Tere Bina specifically, I was doing everything was completely self-funded, and I was working like a corporate job. I still work a corporate job to fund a lot of my projects.
Music is making some money.
No, honestly, like I haven't made any money from music even to this day. Everything that I've made like gets reinvested into the music, and I've been fortunate to like be able to secure some type of like independent label support. So that's been good, and they definitely help out with projects here and there, but I have massive visions, and obviously like no label is going to support massive visions for an artist at my size. So I'm really adamant about my vision being executed the way I want. So I just end up investing in it on top of whatever support I can find. Everything up until the last year has been like completely self-funded, completely like on my own. And a lot of what you see is still like majority self-funded.
So these labels start coming. What made you want to have conversations with them? What are they offering, I guess, that like would make you want to change your mind on a lot of these things? Because like you said, either it's like they're funding you to a scale where you're getting a lot of opportunities and getting your vision, the true vision out, true marketing potential out. Because you signed with the label for this album.
Yeah, for this album, it was an independent record label based in the UK. And I still think I'm trying to figure out like where is the benefit of having some type of partner come in and support. I think one, of course, is like funding, you know. I wanted to sign a label deal so I could quit my job, but I think none came. Like obviously the lawyers had their own issue, and I could have quit my job after Tere Bina, but none of that worked out. But that was the whole incentive behind wanting to sign, was so I could fully and solely focus on music. But that didn't end up happening. So I'm still kind of trying to figure out the space and where a label and where an additional partner is helpful for an artist like myself. Because what I've found is that I'm existing in a niche that has very little infrastructure built around it. So like an R&B artist, for example, there's so many people that could co-sign them, and there's this audience, and there's like this entire system built around that genre, so that when a new R&B artist comes out, there's some level of familiarity that people can attach onto. But I think what I'm doing is so nuanced and like such a mix of different things that people have a hard time latching on, which means partners probably have a hard time marketing me, right? So that's still something I'm trying to figure out. Like, what's the benefit? Who to pick to bring onto the team? What does that infrastructure look like for an artist like me? That's still a work in progress.
Yeah. So are you signed right now to a label, or is it just a project based thing that you're?
I'm not like, I'm signed to a label on a project basis. So like this project was with my, the independent label that I'm signed to in UK. And I believe I have like, one project with them, and then they have the option to do another, but it's not like I'm a signed artist to this label and that's it. It's not like a major label deal where you're solely and exclusively with this like one person forever.
Yeah. Where did you think like they were helping you in a way that maybe you didn't have before? What was some ways, I guess, like benefits of working with a partner like Graduation?
Honestly, just an ear to bounce ideas off of, because a lot of my previous music journey was just me. I was figuring out ideas. I was figuring out like who to reach out to lip sync to the song or promote the song. So having people that have their own base of resources that could be like, hey, I think this person would be good to reach out to. That was like such a comfort to feel less lonely in this process. Another thing that I've really enjoyed is the funding, like not having to self-fund every single thing completely by myself. That's also been like really like nice.
Yeah, what were some additional things you were able to accomplish with financial support and, the label support that maybe you didn't think you could have done without?
I think just like taking my visual world and the world of Shreea Kaul to the next level. Everything before this project, I had a big vision for it, but I didn't have the resources to execute it fully. So I don't think it was as refined as the work that I've been putting out more recently has been. So I definitely think world building and creating like the brand of Shreea Kaul has been possible because of this partnership.
When you say world building, was it like, for example, Hungama, right? Like the music video is incredible, really well shot, really well filmed. Was that something, is that something specific that you're talking about? You know, obviously the album covers. I think you've had multiple music videos for this album where you're able to expand kind of like the visuals throughout the project. Are those some of the things?
Yeah, there's definitely like they've definitely helped me support bringing those visions to life. I would still say I put majority of the funding behind the videos because it was not necessarily the smartest thing to do in this economy, but I told myself with this album, I really don't care. I have to like show people what my world looks like. And I'm sure people could have done it in smarter ways and I could have chosen to do that in smarter ways, but I took what the support that my label initially gave me, I like tripled and quadrupled that with my own funding because I was really adamant about this world. So shout out to my label for even wanting to give it a shot and, you know, contributing to this.
And maybe it doesn't feel like you're losing the money, you know, you're gaining something new instead.
You definitely feel like you're losing the money. It definitely, after like I have to pay all the invoices out, I'm like, fuck, why did I do this? But seeing the product and seeing it out in the world, it definitely fulfills a certain part of me that's worth the investment in the long run. Will I choose to do things more smartly in the future? Probably not. I don't know. I'm like kind of a bit of a stubborn artist in that way. But I think in the long run it's worth it, but in the short run you definitely feel the pang, and when the video doesn't do well, you're like, why the fuck did I do this? But it's more so like me keeping a promise to myself for this album in particular.
I think one thing different about music is that like it's there forever. Even if something didn't do good today, it could do really well tomorrow or
Yeah.
the day after or
10
you know.
years from now,
Exactly.
you never know.
Yeah. The fact that like you're able to invest that money and get these kind of visuals, don't you feel like that's adding to like the uniqueness of you as an artist maybe? Or
Absolutely. That goes back to the whole world building thing, right? I really wanted to curate a world for myself that people could look at and feel attached to. It draws from so many different influences, and I don't think my music would be what it is if the visual aspect of it didn't coexist with it. So it was important, it was essential, and I think the fans really appreciate it.
yeah, we'll talk about Hungama for a second. So incredible music video. I think super unique, and I feel like you went full out in terms of like your artistic vision for that one.
So the song itself is about redemption, and it's about finally bringing justice to yourself after you've been like done wrong. And the video, shout out to Elise, because I had Elise come over, I told her all my ideas, and then right away she started storyboarding and vision boarding. And this video honestly wouldn't exist without Elise because she's a master of her craft. I wanted the video to touch on what I've gone through in the industry, but in a very metaphorical way. This video to me felt like redemption because the people who've held me captive are pigs, but I physically made them up to be pigs, but in my mind, like every pig was a person in my life who's done me wrong, you know? And that's why art is so cathartic, because in real life, I don't have the powers or the resources or the money to avenge myself for like what's happened to me. But in my music video, I can make you a pig and then I can kill you at the end. So that feels like justice. And I also wanted to incorporate, again, like that spiritual element of having Durga manifest in the video, because she is the goddess of wrath and revenge and destruction, and she's also a protector. So for me, that video was a way for me to see myself as what I always wanted to be, someone who could protect myself, and channeling Durga in that video and channeling the essence of her, right? Kali Ma has always been fetishized, tokenized, not just Kali Ma, but other Hindu deities as well. They've always been fetishized, commercialized, tokenized by Western media. And I wanted to represent the true essence of that deity for an audience that could appreciate it, right? I think my audience is like very culturally well versed. So I wanted to finally put a stamp to what like Hindu spiritualism really means instead of having this like watered down Western version of it.
Working with Elise, honestly, I think we just recently made a post about it because like every time there's a music video that comes out with her name on it, it's incredible.
Insane. Yep.
I don't know what, like, I just feel like there's now, you know, you putting out Hungama and like, you know, Rema has a bunch of music videos with Elise as well. There's Glass by Akshara, which looks really, really sick visually.
Insane.
I feel like you guys are really pushing the standard to, in terms of music videos and visuals, back into music again. I don't know, for some period of time, music videos felt very repetitive. It's like the same story over and over again. I think, is it that important now to again like world build and do the visuals? Otherwise, you know, just social media promo is just not gonna like get your true audience. Like, why do visuals matter so much?
For real artists, it's really more of like an intrinsic thing. It's just like you have to express this song in a visual way. It's not like, oh, like obviously there is a component of artists wanting to build their world. That is very true. But artists like even Elise, I would consider her like one of the best artists in the world because she hears something and then she feels this like literally compelling desire to regurgitate a visual version of it into the world. If you see her work on set, she wears like 30 different hats. She can adjust to every little scenario on set and create the most beautiful world and bring it to life in the way that she had it in her brain, no matter what. So I think for us, like it's really about real artistry. It's this compelling desire to show people like what we see in our heads. So I think in the mainstream world, I don't know if I see that desire as potently as it exists in the independent and underground scene. I think we're just a little hungrier.
Yeah, unless it's like coming from like a Kendrick or like...
Yeah, of course. Like true artistry will always shine, right? So like obviously you'll see it from someone like Kendrick, but when you look at the overall like Punjabi music scene, for example, it's the same storyline again and again. It's like a man, a girl, and them exchanging glances at each other from like 200 feet away. And that's the entire music video.
Yeah.
But for us, like storyline and artistry and compelling narrative is like essential to our own story and our own music.
What are the parts of it that you really like and what are parts of it that you really hate when it comes to social media?
It's a love-hate relationship because I think we exist in an era where our accessibility to an audience is literally at our fingertips, which is something artists before me decades ago didn't have. So a lot of artists couldn't like forget being like a superstar. They couldn't even be like a niche, you know, loved artist in their own community without like intense effort. Now it's so much easier. So I have a lot of gratitude for even being able to build an audience because I don't think it would have been possible for a brown girl, really and truly, like back then, to do what I'm doing without social media. So my gripes with it is I feel like I've really lately been feeling the intensity of it and the burnout from it. It's such a saturated space. I feel like there's so many people vying for attention that I don't even want attention anymore. Like, I just want to exist. And if my music finds you, it finds you, and that's it.
The reason why I asked that question is like, as I was listening to the album, when it came out, I would listen to the social clips a lot and I'd only hear like a snippet or like a section of the song. And I thought I knew the song sometimes. Oh, okay, this is what the song feels like, the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
The rest of the 2 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. It's really difficult because you want people to understand and see all the nuance of your work, but I just don't think we exist in that market where people, one, have the attention span or they have like the care to do all that. So I think for me, I do what everyone else does. I try to pick the catchiest part of the song, but I always respond to people who tell me they listen to the song, and I pick their brain about what they liked about it. And I think that's how I keep my ego fed. It's just talking to the fans who actually listened, and then dealing with social media as it comes, and promotion and snippets as they come.
Yeah. What's your favorite way to interact with people that listen to your music?
I like to send them voice notes. Um, Sometimes people will send me messages about how they're interpreting the album. So we'll go back and forth on voice notes of like, oh, so my idea was to do this. And they're like, oh, I interpreted it that way. So building a little community of people who really want to dissect my work and talking to them regularly is like the only reason I feel like I can keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like your dopamine hit whenever?
It's my dopamine. It's my little ego boost. It's like my little pat on the back of like, yeah, I did that. And they saw it too.
Yeah. So how do you feel about like the album release and everything like that? This is your first big project, had
Yeah.
a bunch of tracks on it. I think you had like an EP before, but this is the longest.
Yeah, this is like the longest project I've had. How do I feel about it? I feel like so cathartic. I think it's a heavy project, so I was holding on to the heaviness for so long. Now that it's out, I feel like I can finally breathe again, and I'm looking at the project with a lot of admiration and not anticipation. So I don't feel like I have any goals for it. It's out in the world. People are listening to it. They're talking to me about it. And I think I feel satiated with that. Whereas the version of me like 5 years ago would be like, all right, well, why is it not on Billboard? Why are you not touring a stadium now? Like, what the fuck is going on? Come on, universe. I think now I feel just content with what I've built and proud that I've been able to do it for majority of which on my own. And that's pretty much it. I think it'll probably take on a new meaning in a couple of months. Who knows? Every artist has a different, their phases with their album. So right now I'm like happy.
Yeah. What's the mood like now? Are you ready to like, are you ready to release even more music, or is this like, hey, I'm gonna like chill out for a little bit? And
I hate this culture of churn shit out. I've been asked that question so many times, and it's so valid because I think artists now are just like, they dropped an album like a month ago, and then now the 3 weeks later you have the deluxe, 3 weeks later a new single, 4 weeks later a collab. Like I can't, I have it. I have like a corporate job. Everyone's asking me like, okay, so what's the plan? What are you gonna do? I'm like, the album came out a month ago and y'all are asking me about new music. I'm gonna spend my time promoting this album, relaxing, focusing on my corporate job so I don't get fired because I took so much energy and effort to bring this project to the world. I now need to focus on being able to pay my bills. So I think I'm not a churn shit out artist because I just don't have the time or the resources to be able to do that. I also hate that type of culture. But that's another thing about social media, right? It's so saturated that in order to be present in the space, you have to consistently and almost too obsessively put things out. And I don't care anymore. I am happy with my little corner of the internet as long as my artistic work has integrity.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Thanks.
That's good.
Took
That's
a long
good.
time to get here though.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because I mean, I'm sure you still have goals and places you want to get to, but the fact is, I think nowadays, like, as you know, as a visionary yourself, and like you're creative, you're probably thinking like 10 steps ahead, or like 100 steps ahead sometimes. That like, even though if you finish a task today, or that could be releasing your album or maybe finishing a song or whatever it is, it doesn't feel like you're there yet, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, how are you supposed to live?
How are you supposed to breathe and like enjoy life that informs your next work of art, you know? So I just choose not to subscribe to that mindset. I'm going to live my life and it's going to inspire new artwork. When is that work going to come out? God knows. But I'm going to live my life so I can feed you with good music.
What's some advice that like you would give someone that's, you know, maybe Shreya back when she was 18?
The advice I would give is to find your family early, you know, find people who support you through the ups and downs of the industry early. And one thing I wish I had when I was 18 was just a friend, like a close friend that understood the space, not necessarily all the nuances of it, but someone who's like believes in me, sees the vision, even just as a friend, not even a manager or a lawyer or whatever, like someone close to you that feels like family, that it will be there for you through this process, because it's a very lonely process and you need a shoulder to cry on from time to time. So 1, find your like musical family. 2, this is personal. This doesn't apply to everyone, but I can't create from a state of chaos. So whatever you need to do to be stable in your life, do that, because you're going to create better music out of it. And I don't know if you are, actually. I create better music out of it. So if you need to get a corporate job, get a corporate job. If you need to move back in with your parents for a bit, if you really want to focus on music and nothing else, move back in with your parents and give this dream your whole shot, you know? Whatever you have to do to like bring a little bit of peace in your life so you can use that peace to create from a space that's pure, instead of like, I need to make it, like, fuck, let me just put this out. I don't subscribe to hustle culture. So that would be my advice.
Did you feel like you were ever like rushing yourself to be like this incredible like artist that, you know, who you are today might not have been who you were when you were 18?
I think mentally I rushed myself. Mentally I was like, next year stadiums, next year collab with Beyonce, after that Grammy. And obviously things didn't work out that way, and that's for the best. I think my resources really limited me and slowed me down in a way that was actually beautiful. Other people, I think, may have that mentality and may have the resources to go crazy. They may have familial support. They may have connections. They may have this or that. I would still say to those people, like, do create out of love, right? Don't create out of desperation or necessity to get somewhere. You should always, if you want to practice, if you want to get better, if you want to post your work, do that. Go crazy, go stupid, but love the process in the meantime. If you're creating from a space of like, okay, I need to do this, and it's like tactical and strategic and it takes the soul out of it, then like, why are you even an artist? What for? Don't lose sight of why you love the craft in the entirety of the process. And then if you have that in mind, go as hard as you want. But like that has to be, the love for it has to be at the core of it all.
And that is Shreea Kaul. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Scatterbrain podcast presented by PopShift. I'm your host, Raghu, and I'll see you next week with a brand new episode.